Hey, and welcome back to Elevation Drafting. My name's Glenn, and I'm here to take you through annotative text today, something a bit more advanced. So we've got some text over here, three different types of text here. So first one is non-annotative text, and I'll take you through what annotative means in a moment. Annotative text, I've just written 1 to 200 and 1 to 100 here. We've also got some symbols here, just some basic tree symbols, little things. So in Paperspace, if you go into here, you can see currently I've got all three of them. They're not switched on right now, so you can see the text clearly. So you've got your three bits of text and your symbols there as well. So if you go back into the model space and you choose annotative text 1 to 200, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I always have the properties over here switched on. It's just much easier. So because you can just go straight to here. You find annotative, this one here, specifies whether or not the text is annotative, and you change it to yes. And below that, it will give you a list of the current scale that it's at. Now, the scale that it pops up with is dependent on down the bottom right here, annotation scale. And so if I had set that to a different scale originally, it would have popped up with a different scale up here. But it's got 1 to 1,000 because 1 to 1,000 is that one down there. So what I'm going to do here is, I've got it now switched on to 1 to 1,000. 1 to 1,000 text there. If I go back into the model space for this window here, you can see it's gone. Now, why is that? The reason being is this window here, if I double click to go into the viewport, it is set to 1 to 200 down the bottom here. Now, if I set this to 1 to 1,000, what's going to happen is, if I've got 1 to 1,000 here, which I do, there it is there. So I'll freeze it for a second so you can see that. You just have to zoom right in to see it now. But that's your annotative text here. It's set to 1 to 1,000. So it only pops up at 1 to 1,000 scale. You can change scales to different scales. 250, it'll disappear. 400, it'll disappear. And 5,000, it'll disappear as well. There we go. Same with 1 to 100. So setting it back to 1 to 1,000, you can see the text there. It pops up. So we'll go back to model space here again, and we'll change it to what it says in the actual text there, 200. So you're going to click on the annotative scale here, click on the little button at the end here to bring up the list, and you can see the annotation scale here is listed only as 1 to 1,000. Now what you can do is you can go add, and if we add 1 to 200 there, you've got this list here is actually dependent on the list you have down the bottom in your annotation scales. So we'll choose 1 to 200 and go OK. And you can see that's the list that it pops up with. You can edit these, and I can show you in a different video how to edit these and create your own scales. What's going to happen here now is, because it was originally set to 1 to 1,000, and you've got 1 to 200 as your new scale, there's the text there. So you can see what happens here is it actually shows you the text. If you click on the text, it shows you the text at 1 to 1,000 and at 1 to 200, which is down there. It's the smaller one. Now that can get a bit frustrating, because if you're trying to change things from like that 1 to 1,000 size down to 1 to 200, it's going to change the text size for you. I'll show you a way of changing that in just a second. But we can see right now at 1 to 1,000, there's your text size, or there's your text there, 1 to 200. If you go change the scale on here, there it is there, 1 to 200. So that's the text that you've chosen, and you can see by highlighting it, it'll actually pop up with the 1 to 1,000 size text as well. Now the way to do this in a different way, if you wanted to keep the same text size, what we can do is we can turn this off for a second. So we'll say no. So that's the original text size without any editing. And before we had it on 1 to 1,000. So if we change this now to 200 inside model space, we're in model space right now, and then switch on your annotative, it pops up at 200. There it is right there. So now you should have text at 1 to 200 at the same size as what you had before. You just need to change the actual annotative text, or sorry, annotative scale inside model space to actually get it there. You can see none of the other scales are there anymore, or none of the scales are there. You can't see anything there. 1 to 1000 won't have it now because it wasn't in the list. You can see, go back to the back to model space. The only one in the list right now is 200. Now I can add some other ones to it, and what it will do is it will change the size of the text dependent on the scale that you've got. So currently I've got 200, and this is the size at 200. If I add 100 to it, and if I add say 2000 to it, it'll change the scale depending on what size scale you want. So there's your 1 to 2000 text there, and there's your 1 to 100 text in the highlighted one just down there. Now back into here again. So right now we've got 1 to 1000, doesn't show. We go 1 to 2000, you'll see the text. There it is. You can also then go, well, we had 1 to 200 originally, and we also had 1 to 100 as well, which is that one there. So there it is there. But I've got the 1 to 100 text below it, so we're going to actually use that one to make the 1 to 100 text. So we'll go back to here, back to edit, and get rid of that, and get rid of that. So now this is just 1 to 200 text, and let's say we wanted to have the 1 to 100 text at the same size. All you do then is just switch on, change it to 1 to 100, and switch it on, and it will be at 1 to 100. There you go. Again, 1 to 200, or this is actually 1 to 3.906 right now, some random scale. If we go 1 to 150, what you can see is here, actually we'll go 400 so you can see it clearer. What you can see here is the non-annotative text stays there and stays visible, but the other ones are all gone because they're annotative text. So annotative text essentially is, it will only display at the scale that you have specified. So if we go 1 to 100, you can see the text pops up again, but the 200 text is not there because it's not 200 scale. But if you go 200, there's your text, and the other one disappears. So non-annotative text stays there regardless of what the scale is. Annotative text appears and disappears based on what the scale is. So very, very, very handy thing to do. Very handy thing to use in various situations. I'll show you one more quick thing with this as well. Yep, we'll do a couple of these. Let's say 400. Let's say whatever, 750. Any of these are fine. So now we've got 3 in here. So the scales I just chose, 200, 400, and 750. And so we've got 3 of these set up now. So again, if you go into here, you'll see 200 and 400. There it is. And 750. There it is there. There's your text size. Now, something that we can do with this as well, sometimes the orientation of the text is based on the position, the start position, the grid position here. So you can see currently it's justified to the left, that one there. So all your text is going to start with that original justification point, which was actually the 1 to 200 text, which we'll just go out to see properly. There it is. You can actually move this text, and sometimes it's actually very handy if your text is running way out of the screen over here somewhere, and you need it to be visible inside the screen at a different scale. You can change it so that the 1 to 200 text right now is shown like that in the middle of the screen, above the tree symbols, below that text there. But we want to change it so the 1 to 400 text, see it sticks out over the edge of the view here. What you can do, I'll just lock this viewport for a second. What you can do is you can actually select the text when you're at 1 to 400. It'll select the text and treat it as the 1 to 400 text. So you can then grab this and you can actually move it around. You can also change the rotation as well. So if we say 110, it's going to look a bit weird like this, but this is a good example anyway. So there's your 1 to 200 text, or it's actually 1 to 400 text, sorry. So if you now go back to 1 to 200, it will show it in the original position, like that. And then 1 to 400 pops up with the angle like that. So a really cool little feature of annotative text is that you can actually change the rotation and change the position of it. And I've used this many times in my work. Really handy little thing to do. Yeah, so just wanted to show you guys that as well. So there's your text. The other thing you can do, there's a lot of things you can make annotative. You can make dimensioning annotative. So you can go like that, which I'm going to have to tinker with a bit because I haven't done this now. Like that. Is this still on author? Yes, it is. So this one here, you can go switch on annotative here. And again, it will be annotative based on the scale that you've got inside model space, which is currently 1 to 100. So if we go yes to this, switch on annotative, 1 to 100, there it is. And if we go out to here, you won't see it because this is 400 right now. But unlocking the viewport, going back to 100 scale, there it is. There's your dimension. So dimensions can be annotative, text can be annotative. You can also do hatching annotative, which is very, very confusing and will probably crash AutoCAD. It does tend to crash it sometimes. But you can also do symbols, blocks in annotative as well. Now the way you do blocks in annotative is you go block edit, BE, go into it, and again you've got a button over here, annotative, currently set to no, which will appear in all scales and viewports. Switch it to yes, close that and save it. And it hasn't changed it here because we're currently set to 100 scale. But what it's done is it's added the other scales in. They added 200 because I've got two other views here set at 1 to 200 scale. This is set at 200, I think. Yep. So it kind of uses the scales that you've kind of got in the drawing already. So there's your scales there. 100, 200, and we'll have a look at it over here. Let's go back out of here for a sec. If we set this to 300, you can see it all disappears. And we're just left with one tree symbol and the non-annotative text. So that's that. Now if we set this back to 200, there's a tree symbol right there. There it is. So yeah, annotative, very, very handy for many situations, and I'll just show you one more quickly. The site plan that I had over here has annotative text in it. This text here is currently at 1 to 200 scale. If you double click inside the viewport, you can see it, 1 to 200. You can actually check on this. Some of this is annotative and some isn't. This one here is. So you can see the ridge. Clicking there pops up, and it pops up as a smaller size too because it's actually also set to 1 to 100. So the smaller text size. I think this is actually annotative as well. No, it's not. Okay, so some of this text is annotative and some is not. Actually, most of it's not apparently. So what I thought I might do here, I've already got some text in here, in the toilet block area down here. This text is currently set at 1 to 100, so you can't see it right now because this is actually, it's on 200. But if I wanted to enlarge this area and show some more detail of the toilet block area here, you can make it a larger scale, of course, and so then you would use the annotative text to come in like that, and you can show it like that. There it is. Now you can see there's still some text left over here that is not annotative at all, and what you would just do then is just go through and grab all that text and change it to 200 to get rid of that. But it is a really handy little function of annotative text to be able to disappear in some viewports. So the overall site plan that you can see here only shows the external areas and bits and pieces, the car parking and that. And then if you go into 100 scale, And I think the purpose of this, what I did originally was, I think I actually just viewport. I think I actually just wanted to show it as just this section of the viewport. So I probably did that originally, just to kind of show that section there. So we get rid of that. You can see most of it's then hidden, so you can probably freeze off that as well. And there you go. Just a very handy way of showing a lot more detail in a smaller area. There's a few things there that I haven't fixed up, but you get the general idea. So annotative text, very, very handy to use if you're using multiple scales. And that's it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Yeah, keep watching, and yeah, subscribing helps a lot with the channel. So if you can hit the subscribe button, it would be really helpful, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.